Tune in, iTunes, and we have got a great guest with us today. Brett, can you hear us, my friend?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Look at that. And I can see you too, which is always good. Uh,
Excellent.
we have
That's what
got
we like.
we have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast, and he is the director of education over at Strongfist Inc. The fantastic Brett Jones joins us live here via the old Skip
Awesome.
Skype. Yes, the Skype-a-rooney. And Brett, welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
I am fabulous. Just plugging right along here, getting the day taken care of, and thrilled to have the opportunity to be on the show and to talk to you and your audience.
Yes. Well, one of the things that sparked my interest is I discovered you guys somehow through the magic of YouTube. I was you're shaking your head because I think that's probably how most people discover you.
It,
Discover
it
you
you know it,
guys.
it comes in a variety of ways, but YouTube is a great way. Social media. We tend to get some content out there, so I'm glad that the connection was made.
Yes. Well, one of the things that I love about what you guys do is you guys are all about strength over there. And
Yes.
I have been preaching strength for probably, God, 93 to all these fighter people around this area. And it just seems like everybody's into bodybuilding and everybody's into this and that. And it wasn't until I started fighting again a couple years ago that I started using kettlebells. And I had always thought kettlebells were just another damn scam. I just figured it was another goddamn thing to sell. I thought, here we go. This is going to be like the ab rollers and all the other crap. And I picked up kettlebells and I used them. And then my deadlift went through the fucking roof. And I was like, okay, maybe not a gimmick.
There's something happening here.
So, talk to me about kettlebells and how you guys use them and how you guys train with them over there because I see a lot of people use kettlebells in the gym because it seems like nowadays that's the big thing. And they use them so terribly wrong.
Well, yes. I'll just say yes. It's funny when I got my first kettlebell was late 2001. I had gotten one of Pavel's earlier books, Power to the People, which is about
Yes.
minimalist strength training routine, deadlift, and side press, and was certainly an anti-bodybuilding sort of book. And I was immediately like, yes, this is, and I'm already in the fitness industry at this point. I have a background in sports medicine, athletic training, and I had transitioned into running a hospital fitness center, and I've been every kind of training, right? I was the one set to failure hit Jedi. I was the functional trainer, the body weight guy. I've been every kind of trainer, right? And so here I read this here from Pavel, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And then the marketing came on, and I started hearing about kettlebells. And got my first one in late '01 and went certified in February of '02. And at that time, like you couldn't find a kettlebell. I was a really weird guy for doing kettlebells when and where I was. And then fast forward to now, almost any fitness related advertisement, it has a kettlebell. And so you find them in hotel fitness rooms pretty much every day that you go in. So there's been quite a progression as time has gone by. So we refer to style kettlebell training as hard style kettlebell training, and we focus on power output, really building our strength, using our strength effectively, and hard style technique is actually kind of been morphed over from there are hard style Schwartz is soft style martial
Oh, yeah.
arts. So the hard style technique is brought over, and so we focus on strength and power output, and what you experience is your we call them what the heck effect. So
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Skype quit on us. Let's do this. Just reboot Skype. Just reboot Skype. It happens. It's Skype. It's technology. It's great when it works. It's fantastic when it works, kids. But when it doesn't, it happens. So let's go back. Let's see if I can get back in here. We're having a really good conversation, and then Skype craps out on me. There we are. I think I've got Brett back with us. Skype just decided to do an update.
Very good. Very good. Perfect timing. You gotta all the updates.
Hey, I'll tell you. Technology is great when it works.
100%.
But a lot of times it's not the best in the world, as they say. So Brett,
what was the last thing you heard from me?
You were talking about the principle with the deadlift. Why my deadlift has went through the roof using kettlebells.
So we call that the what the heck effect.
Yes, the what the heck effect. Yes.
Yes. So you're doing something that's maybe not exactly related to the thing that got better. So we have people that start doing get-ups and swings and they PR their pull-ups, and people that start doing get-ups and swings and they hit a press PR, whatever the case.
Yes.
The deadlift is because it is a similar hip hinge movement to the swing. Does kind of make sense. So that you get some carryover there, and the eccentric loading. What size kettlebell were you swinging at the time?
Well, here's the thing. I do a lot of, as one of my training partners one time, the Rob Sabi told me, he's like, you do a lot of unique things in the gym. I basically just looked at all the kettlebells in the gym. And I basically started at the lowest poundage at 5, went all the way to 70, and did one set of 5 with a minute rest in between until I'd thrown every single one of them, and I do it 3 times a week. I probably shouldn't do it that way, but I do.
I think that there's an old-time strongman named Herman Goner who used to work the chain.
Yes.
And that was going up and down the dumbbell rack and hitting a bunch of different weights. And that's and the 5 at the top of the minute strategy is actually a really solid work-rest ratio sort of strategy that is targeted towards what we would call our ANA, aerobic and alactic sort of training, where we've got really high power output. The consistency of effort gets you an aerobic effect, but we avoid kind of that glycolytic burn by continuing the reps for too long and too short a rest period. So that sounds, if we were progressing your training, I'd say maybe go start about halfway up the rack and maybe go twice through, so that you're getting a little heavier swing work and kind of cutting out the lighter swings. But both strategies certainly work.
Well, I think I might have a kettlebell addiction problem because I'm
familiar with it.
Because there for a while, I was working out at our local YMCA here, and they have kettlebells that start from 5 all the way to like 55, and
right.
They have 2 5s, 2 10s, 2 15s. They go that way up to like 35. And then I ended up doing some work for a little bit in probably an hour and a half down the road at a place called in Wichita, Kansas, at a YMCA. And their YMCA is gigantic. And it is so gigantic, they have 2 kettlebell racks, one on the opposite sides of the gym. And each of those kettlebell racks start at 5 and go up to like 60. And the first time that I went down there, I'm like, I need to throw every kettlebell they have access to in this gym.
Right.
So at the end of this whole thing, I sat down and I realized, oh my God, I've done 120 sets. It is taking me an hour and a half to do this. And
That's a lot.
I was just like, do I have a kettlebell addiction problem here? This is because I felt like I couldn't get out of the rest of the workout without getting these kettlebells done. So
it's definitely, I mean, my training very quickly switched to all kettlebells way back, 20 plus years ago.
yes.
And it's been the mainstay of my training for the last 20 plus years. I've done some powerlifting. I've done a lot of body weight work. I've accomplished a lot of other things training wise, but kettlebells have certainly been the base of what I do for the last 20 plus years. So the total volume wise, I think somewhere between 50 to 100 swings per session is probably a sweet spot. If you were doing five reps at all of those weights,
Yes.
and it was taking you an hour and a half, probably a little much.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. There is a guy that actually got me into powerlifting fairly, I don't know, probably about 2 or 3 years ago. He's a local professional wrestler here by the name of Derek Stone. And Stone does a lot of interesting, like, strongman type training, like I've seen you guys do. He does the kettlebells, but he also does these, and I don't even know what the hell they would be called, but they basically are sacks. He basically does like sandbag training or something.
Yes.
What in the world is this? Because I see him do this on his social media, and I'm like, what in the world is this? And I didn't even think that anything like this ever existed except for a giant health club till I walked into the McPherson YMCA a couple weeks ago, and they had a whole bunch of these bags, and nobody was using them because I don't think anybody else knew what the hell they were either.
So this would all fall, sandbags and things like this would fall under what we would call the odd implement category.
Okay.
With a sandbag, because we think traditional implements, we think of a dumbbell, a barbell, maybe a medicine ball, things of these nature. You can go back to 1569, Mercury Alice, first published book on physical training, and you can see dumbbells and medicine ball training and body weight training, and this is 1569. And so fast forward, dumbbells, barbells, medicine ball become kind of standard fare. And then what's happened as a result of strongman training and these other forms of training kind of gaining popularity is we have these odd implements that have become popular. And with the sandbag, man, you've got to, if it doesn't have handles on it, there's two different types of sandbag training. There are sandbags that have handles on them. And you can look at different training styles with those, and those can be really great style of training. And then you have these sandbags that do not have handles on them, and you see them in the strongman competitions, right? They'll be one of the object that they have to lift, carry, and then load onto another object.
They gotta go throw it onto a back of a truck or some kind of crap.
Exactly.
Yes.
Back on the farm, they just called it work.
That's right.
Now it's odd implement training. So the way you have to manipulate this object, and the way, people have joked for a long time that dead weight, like trying to move a person that weighs 100 pounds feels way different than trying to move a barbell that weighs 150.
Yes.
The way you have to center your center of mass with that center of mass, and positions you have to get into are really unique. And it does, you hug that sandbag to your body. Now you're compressing your breathing musculature. So you've got a different thing that's happening as far as your breathing is concerned. and how you center with that weight for a squat, for a carry, for shouldering. There are some really different training effects that you get into there.
Well, you mentioned you've got some experience in powerlifting,
Yes, sir.
and some of the things that I have noticed with powerlifting over the years, years and years and years ago, I don't know, probably 2099, something like this.
Mhm.
No one was doing the deadlift, at least in this area of the country, for some reason. I don't know why people were not doing the deadlift. But then me and a few people in various martial arts schools were like, hey, the deadlift, it's an overall exercise. Now everybody and their damn brother is doing the deadlift. And I see places like Planet Fitness that have banned the deadlift.
Mhm.
Why is the deadlift
Oh
so
yeah.
popular? Is it because it's an overall body exercise, or what is the
Yes.
fascination with everybody in the
Yeah. I
deadlift?
think that when you look at bang for your buck, right?
Yes.
There's a couple of things with a deadlift that are unique in that it's a concentric start to the lift.
Okay.
So the weight is dead on the ground. So you have to kind of get yourself down to it and then lift it. So it's a concentric first. If we look at a back squat where you get underneath the bar, unrack it, step back, we're eccentric first. We're getting loaded into that position.
Yes.
And a lot of people will actually be more successful um, with one of those strategies will appeal more to some people than others. But the deadlift it's relatable. Everybody's had to pick up something off the ground, right? Whether that's a bag of dog food, a
Yes.
sack of soil, whatever it is, a rock in the garden, or whatever we're doing. So it's a very relatable lift, and it's a very functional lift. I know that that's a buzzword, and that's something that's been overused and
Oh
bastardized
yeah.
as time has gone
Oh
by, is
yeah.
what's functional. But the deadlift certainly fits that category of being a very functional lift because it teaches you how to lift stuff. And in life, you are going to have to lift stuff. So one of the things that's happened as time has gone by here, and we've kind of broken out of the bodybuilding basis for training, and have gotten into more, for lack of any better term, a more functional style of training has certainly taken hold, and it's been a good thing. It's getting people, because I personally feel it's the Jim Gaffigan joke. I went to the gym and I see all these fit people, and I'm like, you can go home. You did it. You got there. You accomplished it. You can go home now. And that's not the idea. We people think you work out purely for an aesthetic reason, and that's not it. We should work out because it's what we need to do to manage this body that we've been given. The meat suitcase we get to drive around the universe, as I like to refer to it. So
That
this
is
this
awesome. That ought to be
this
on a
thing
t-shirt.
requires maintenance. That's put that on a shirt. So you know we should train because there's a joy to it. There's a reason to do it beyond the aesthetics, and the deadlift actually kind of fits into that category. Like, I remember for me, the first time I hit weight X, which was 405 at the time. Man, I felt like I could walk through walls. Like I just felt like I had just, wow, I've gotten what I strong. And 405 is not a great deadlift, and I went on to lift more than that. But I think there's an accomplishment and a feeling of wedging yourself into the ground and picking that weight up that's
Yes.
very appealing, and again, very functional.
We have got a tremendous guest with us today. He joins us live here on iHeartRadio and, of course, 50 plus AM/FM stations across the country and around the world. Brett Jones is with us today. Strongfirst.com is the official website. Go over there and check out strongfirst.com. They have literally everything you can think of when it comes to strength and all the various forms of, just manliness, I guess, as far as the gym goes. One of the things that I want to talk with you about, which has been it hasn't ever really bothered me because I just really could care less about any of this stuff. I usually, if it's heavy or I can't lift it, I go down and wait and I come back up. But I know there's a lot of people that I either work out with, have worked out with, or have been around that grip strength is like the biggest problem that they have. And for instance, we were talking about the deadlift earlier. And when I first started doing the deadlift, me and a couple guys, we were, picking it up and putting it down, as they say. Or as they say in the Planet Fitness commercials, I pick things up and put things down. That guy, by the way, I hope that guy's a millionaire. I hope that bodybuilder that said that is a millionaire. Because
I hope so.
He friggin' earned it. He became
No
a
doubt.
pop culture icon. But one of the things that I've noticed is that grip strength seemed to be an issue with a lot of people especially with the deadlift. I have done a lot of research in the past trying to help out various people with this. And I keep coming back to either guys like you or arm wrestling guys. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that have all this grip knowledge. Is it just simple enough to go into a gym and just every time you pick something up, grip it, and your grip will go up? Or should you do individual, exercises and add more to the load? What's your view on grip and grip strength?
Well, I'm going to go a couple different directions here because when you look at the research, grip strength is correlated, or low grip strength is correlated with all-cause mortality. So the lower your grip strength is, like the you don't do as well as time goes by. So, and that doesn't mean go buy grippers and just start.
Oh yeah.
It means the lifestyles, the things that we get into that give us good grip strength also help us live longer. And when we look at aging and living independently, our grip strength becomes really, really important because at a certain point, you may need to grab hold of something and give yourself a boost and help yourself out of a situation. Opening your own pickle jars is that's something we should aim to be able to do. So grip strength functions at a really base functional level and it gives us an idea of how we're going to age. Now, when I entered into grip training, I did some very specialized grip training years ago. I was the 11th person in the world to bend the red nail. I've picked up 5 10-pound plates in one hand. I've closed the number 3 gripper, Captains of Crush. I've done some grip training. Yeah. And when I entered into grip training, what I had been doing prior to that was primarily kettlebell training. And the first time I ever tried, I closed a Captains of Crush number 2 gripper. I bent a 60 penny nail. And the guy who's showing me this stuff is like, you should do this. I'm like, okay, I'll get into it. It was hard. It was kind of cool. So, I was into kind of weird stuff. So, grip training just kind of filtered right in. So I did a lot of grip training. But coming back to this idea that I entered in at a good level because kettlebell training, the way it loads your grip, thick handle, offset center of mass, the way it loads your grip during a swing, a snatch, the way we use the grip and wrist strength for things like a get up and a military press, those things gave me a good base level of grip strength. Now, do you need to do specific grip training? Maybe. It depends on what your base is. It depends on where you're coming from. For people that are working on things like deadlifting, kettlebell swings, kettlebell snatches, farmer's carries, or just picking up and moving around weight, typically grip strength is not going to be much of a factor. However, if you're entering into strength training and you realize that your grip is a limiting factor, then adding in farmer's carries, grippers, maybe some things, and getting into kettlebell training.
I see these guys do the
are all
wrist
things that will bring
rollers.
your grip up.
Is that
The classic.
anything? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the world of wrist and hand strength there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
There's pinching strength, where we start talking about how your thumb is working, and that varies between narrow pinch and wide pinch. There's crushing grip. There's holding grip. Those are two different things. Although a good crushing grip helps with a good holding grip, which we would use in a farmer's carry or a deadlift. And then wrist strength. Look at Slim the Hammerman, and leveraging, doing sledgehammer levers and things of that nature. So there's a lot of different grip and wrist things that you can get into. For general purposes, you don't need to get that specific. Like I said, swings, snatches, farmer's carries, deadlifts, these things, the suspension rows, pull-ups, all of these things are really going to help develop the grip strength.
We have got a tremendous guest for this today. Brett Jones joins us here in our program. Strongfist.com is his official website. Go over there and check out what him and all the other instructors are doing over there at strongfirst.com. Now, one of the things that there are certain elements to CrossFit that I absolutely love. And then there's certain elements where I'm just like, you guys look like it's a clown show. What is up with this, with some of this? Like, I work out with an old boxing coach probably 3 times a week. And this guy he's really old school. He's doing the 5x5 program. He's doing monkey grip when he does bench press. This guy, I always tell people, Coach Ken has forgotten more about this stuff than most people are ever going to know. And one of the things that we always kind of complain about in the gym is these CrossFit people. Like the box jump stuff. I'll do box jumps all day long. I think that stuff's great. But then I see them do these pull-ups. And I'm like, that's not a pull-up. That's a throwing yourself over the bar kind of gimmick, as they say. And then some of the stuff where I've seen some people in these CrossFit games that I'm like, they're just asking for a back injury. What are your guys' views over there at Strong First when it comes to kettlebells and how, because they work in kettlebells and the vests, and they're running up stadium steps. They're doing cool stuff. They're doing stuff that would work, but then there's other stuff where I'm just like, are you kidding me?
The only thing I'll say about CrossFit is, and I've seen the whole development from when they first got started. I was already in kettlebells and doing things prior to that. They have popularized Olympic lifting. Is more popular than it has been in decades because of CrossFit. A lot of this odd implement stuff that we're talking about has been given a boost.
Pegboards
via
and
CrossFit.
all this.
So the implements, the things that they popularized, the tools that they use, big fan. It's how they program things and how they do things is not how I would do them. It's not how Strong First would do them.
Yes.
I think that constant competition, training to failure, fatigue, placing yourself in those positions is not the best way to train. So I love their tools. It's not how I would program it. And that's pretty much all I'll say about CrossFit. We have Strong First instructors that own CrossFit boxes. There's a marketing benefit to having a CrossFit. It's popular. People know about it. Doesn't mean you're going to do everything that comes out of CrossFit Central. But it's, again, love the tools and what they popularized, not how it's programmed and implemented.
So what is the thing that people have, I guess, just realized over the last several years? Strength is like popular again. It used to be we had to look like a bodybuilder, and then we
Hmm.
had to look like the fitness people, and then
Right.
we had to look like Brock Lesnar and all these guys. Which there's only one Brock, so it's not gonna happen. But nowadays, people are starting to get the strength aspect again. Why is strength cool again?
It's really interesting. I think that obviously with Strong First, calling ourselves, and promoting ourselves as a school of strength, and the Metviev quote that we use is that strength is the foundation for all other physical qualities.
Yes.
So if you want to be fast, you need to be strong. You want to have endurance, you actually need to be strong. If like strength is the base. Eric Cressy put it a long time ago. He said, strength is the glass. The bigger your glass is, the more other physical qualities you can put into that glass.
Yes.
So I think what's happened, and we have to give credit to things like CrossFit and things, other activities that have become popular that have said, hey, the stronger you are, the better you're going to be at this. And
Yes.
training in general has now kind of slid a little bit more and I use the term functional, but I don't mean it in the way that probably some
Yes.
people out there take
Yes.
it. But yeah, strength, thank goodness. And this is a drum that Pavel's been beating for 20 plus years, and that Strong First has been beating for quite some time. That this foundational physical quality just makes you better at everything else.
Yes.
Now, you can reach a point where strength in itself has become the goal, and that's powerlifting, right? So you
Oh
slide
yeah.
all the way over to the scale, you get to the powerlifting. And I've done that. I've slid the scale too far and specialized in, and I love squatting. I don't have a power rack at my house because I would pretty much do nothing but squat, and I know I should do other things. So yeah, I think, and what people have realized is strength helps break you out of that. I have to look a certain way in order to go to the gym, in order to think that I'm
Yes.
fit, in order to, it breaks the mold, to your point of, everybody, the 80s action hero sort of physique, the Stallones and the
Yes.
Rocky and, all of that kind of stuff. And not Rocky 1, though. It was Rocky 2 and 3 when things really changed. So yeah, I just think it's great. I think it's a fantastic progression that people are now focusing on strength and getting in that direction.
Well, we have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here. Brett Jones is with us, and he is amazing. You can check out strongfirst.com. That's www.strongfirst.com. And check out all the various things they've got going on over there at strongfirst.com. So, Brett, what is your view on all this? People are like with the diet. I see
Mm.
so many people that like starve themselves so they can get the six pack abs. Or I see these guys that want to be Ronnie Coleman, so they just put on massive amounts of muscle.
Hmm.
What in the world first of all, let's start with the diet. What do you think about all this various stuff? Because I heard an interview. I think it was Pavel was on Joe Rogan, and he said he is the enemy of nutrition. What is your view on dieting and all these things?
It's interesting. I mean, when you talk diet, it's close to talking religion for some people.
Yes.
It gets really personal. It gets really serious
Yes.
really quickly. You have adherents to different dietary strategies that have been successful for one person. So then they feel the need to promote that to everyone. It's going to be the answer for everyone. So it's really, you almost have to be careful tiptoeing into some of the nutritional conversations. Um, and I think it's one of the things where there's the most misinformation and marketing that kind of drives things in negative directions.
Yes.
In the end, diet, people tend to think of diet as temporary things that you do to achieve an aesthetic goal, right? I'm going to eat a certain way for this period of time so that I lose my 20 pounds so I look good on vacation. And then usually it's a diet that you can't maintain. So then once vacation's over, the 20 pounds are back plus 5. And now you're waiting for the next dietary trend to come along so that you can lose your next 20 to 25 pounds.
Yes.
Michael Pollan in Food Rules laid it out very simply. Eat food, and I don't, this isn't 100% what I believe, but he lays it out very simply, as a starting point. Eat food, mostly plants, not as much.
Hey, that's excellent.
I mean, if we want a starting point,
there's your starting point, baby.
Right now, throw in. I would eat a little more lean protein probably than he would recommend, but I think if we start from a super simple concept, and one of my firm beliefs, Leonardo da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Yes.
And if we boil things down and make it simple, it's going to work for a lot more people. So, but people love extremes. So if you can, that's why the Atkins diet has come back in. There was a pre-Atkins diet in the 1800s, right? So Atkins did not invent much. He rediscovered or brought old stuff into the current. And then that's been kind of repackaged and redone and put into a bunch of different formats. And in it, for short term, it succeeds, right? But does it succeed because it's different or because it's something that's more effective? Because nothing succeeds like change. If you've been eating a high processed food diet and high carbohydrate and sugars and drinking and liquid calories count, and then you switch all the way over to the other side of the pendulum where you're eating meat and fat and low carbohydrate and of course you're going to see a change. You're doing something very, very different from what you were doing, but it's hard to sustain that as great as it sounds. Like I can eat all the bacon I want and steak. Like this is fantastic. That's not sustainable over time. And so eventually you need to settle into an eating or nutritional strategy that you can maintain over time. I tell people all the time, I don't want you eating like I do. I don't follow my dietary recommendations. I'm somewhat in the vein of Pavel, where I'm like the enemy of nutrition.
I love that line.
I don't overthink it. I haven't calculated my macros ever. I couldn't tell you how many grams of protein I take in a day if you held a gun to my head. Like I have no clue. I don't know how many carbs I take in. I know that I drink a bunch of water. So stay hydrated, eat food, mostly plants, not as much, cook, add some more lean protein to that. And don't overthink it. And sometimes when you get in these extreme, eating situations, you're not much fun to hang out with.
Well, that
right?
too.
You're
that
like,
too.
Oh my gosh, I can't eat that. I can't eat that. It's like, well, what are you doing? Like, you're just not much fun to hang out with.
You're just not much fun to hang out with. Well, we are having a blast hanging out with Brett Jones. Strongfist.com is the official website. We are almost out of time with Brett, but I definitely have to have you back because we have barely scratched the surface of this whole thing. One of the things that I see in these gyms over my years of going to various gyms and working out in various gyms is I see various things. Like, for instance, there for a while when I first started getting into real heavy deadlifting, I had a serious back injury 10, 12 years ago, so I will overcompensate with things. I'm wearing the powerlifting belts with the clip. I'm wearing the wraps, I'm wearing the gloves, I'm doing all the stuff, wearing all the gimmicks, as they say. But then I start seeing these guys who they get their 400 pounds on deadlift and they do the 500 pounds and they decide, okay, I'm going to start all the way from the bottom, but I'm going to go shoeless and I'm going to go beltless and I'm going to work my way up. What do
Mhm.
you think about all this with the taking the safety away? Is that good? Is that bad? What do you?
So there's a couple different perspectives here. Assuming that the belt keeps you safe, which is an assumption.
Okay.
There is a skill in knowing how to use the belt in a way that enhances your abdominal pressure, which can add some pounds to your deadlift and create a little bit more of a bubble of pressure and safety
Yeah.
in the deadlift. But that's a skill. That's a skill that needs to be built. Um, when you look at it, there is I think a good argument to be made. Let's start barefoot.
Yeah.
And now you have lots of minimalist shoes that recreate a barefoot situation that have you very thin, very firm, very connected to the ground. Years ago, you just had to go barefoot because all you had were squishy sneakers.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of receptors in your foot, in your feet, and when we put pressure into them, we get more information and we get better firing throughout the body because we're getting more information out of the feet and the way we use the feet and lower legs. So barefoot training is good. It can really enhance strength, enhance stability. It's a great way to strengthen your feet. A lot of people coming out of shoes and orthotics and different things like that. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. If a doctor has said you need to wear orthotics, wear orthotics. Do what your doctor said.
Oh, yeah.
Go back, have a
Yeah.
conversation with them. If you went up to the Dr. Scholl's foot mapping center and got your 420s, we're having a little bit different conversation. But standing in one place, doing some squats, deadlifts, single leg deadlifts in a barefoot situation can really help enhance the strength of your feet. It can make you a little bit stronger because we're getting all that increased neurological and proprioceptive information. As we begin to look at how I would say going without a belt and kind of, let's say, rebuilding your deadlift or squat or whatever it is. When you take that approach and you're focused on how you're creating the intra-abdominal pressure in you versus waiting for the belt to do it or relying on pushing into the belt, you do build a lot more midsection strength. You do build a lot more base kind of irradiation and strength and the ability to produce inter-abdominal pressure. And the way we've referred to it, you're building that skill of strength, and strength is a skill.
Yes.
And so when we practice
Yes,
the skill of strength without the belt and we focus on how we're activating and the muscle patterning that's happening inside of us, I think there's a lot of benefit there.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, we have got one final topic here with Brett before we let him go for today. By the way, we've got Brett Jones with us today. He joins us live here via the old Skip Skype. Yes, the Skype-a-rooney. And strongfirst.com is the official website. Go over there and find out what him and all the other instructors are up to over there at strongfirst.com. So years and years ago, before I knew anything about any of this stuff, I was much like everybody else. I saw Scott Steiner on TV, Big Papa Pump. I'd see all these guys, and I'm like, oh my God, these guys must be strong as hell because they're ripped and all this stuff. And the only guy, or there's two, realistically, there's two of them on this planet, that look a certain way and are strong as a brick house is Brock and Mariusz Pudzianowski. Only two guys I've ever noticed. Why is it that people equate the bodybuilder looks with this guy must be able to lift up a freaking house?
Well, I mean, I hate to throw it back to comic books, but you can easily throw it back to movies and comic books.
Yes.
And you had a prototypical superhero, or whether male or female, you had a kind of a prototypical superhero build. And
Yes.
of course, being superhero strong was always, a big aspect of being a superhero. So we very quickly, and that's decades, millennia of sort of patterning where we kind of look at the physique and we assume something from that. And when you pre-steroid era and pre bodybuilding era, like you get into the 50s and you look at even take it into the era of Dave Draper, Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbo.
Franco
These
Columbo
guys were as
lifting
strong
that
as they look.
car and pumping iron.
Exactly. They were as strong as they looked because powerlifting and bodybuilding were kind of the same thing to them.
Yes.
And they would peak and work towards a bodybuilding competition, then they'd peak and work towards a powerlifting competition. And they were training heavy. Like they were definitely, as strong as they looked. So I think there's multiple reasons. And then, we mentioned earlier, like the movie stars of the 80s and the action films.
Yes.
And, you had a prototypical physique and that we assumed X off of, because in the movie they were tossing people through walls and, they were able to handle X, Y, and Z. And, just kind of not the case.
Well, I will have to say that I am so glad that people are doing more strength nowadays than they were. I think there's a lot of people that are starting to discover kettlebells more. They're starting to develop the deadlift more. One of the things I guess my final question that I'll ask you about, you were mentioning how you did powerlifting and things for a while. Why is it that deadlift and squat sometimes go a little bit higher than somebody's bench press? Is it because you're laying down and you're basically you're only really using your arms, or?
Definitely. And if we peel that onion back just a little bit further and we
Yeah.
look at geared versus ungeared lifting, and when I say geared, I'm referring to squat suits, deadlift
Oh
suits,
yeah. The
bench shirts.
the little whatever the hell those things are, the red thing that people wear that makes them look like a
The
Tyrannosaurus
slingshot.
Rex. That's it. Yes.
Yep. So in the pre powerlifting gear era, you saw deadlift would be the heaviest lift a person would hit.
Yes.
The squat would be next, and then the bench would be their lowest lift. And it is exactly for the reason you mentioned. It's really isolated towards the upper body strength. Now, the bench is not an upper body only lift. We know how to drive through our feet
Oh, yeah.
and produce that solid base. And, we know it's more of a full body lift, but we're now held restricted by the fact that just our arms and upper body have to move this thing. And
Yes.
that's never going to be as strong as our hips and lower body. So in pre-geared era, you saw a distribution. And for myself, when I was powerlifting, I had a best deadlift of 573 at 198 raw, so belt only. So 573 deadlift, 518 squat, and I think my best bench was like 315, 320. Might have hit a 325, but whatever.
Wow.
But you can see that distribution. And I wasn't a great bench presser. I wasn't a great power lifter. I was decent. I hit some decent lifts. But as a famous powerlifting coach told me one time, Brett, you're not built to do anything. Thanks, coach. What was meant was I don't have the long arms that would make me a great deadlifter. I don't have short arms that would make me a great bench presser.
Yes.
And I don't have the torso and femur lengths that would make me an ideal squatter. I was just kind of general, built very generally. Now go into the geared era where you have these bench shirts, squat suits, and deadlift suits. Now you see 200, 300 pound differences between the squat being the heaviest lift and the deadlift. And now you see the bench coming equal and getting close to the deadlift and sometimes beyond, because people are getting 50, 100 pounds extra boost from this gear. So now you see now it plays with your head. Like, why isn't my squat bigger than my deadlift? Because now in the geared world, if you put the squat suit on, you're probably going to squat more than you deadlift. So it's really begun to play with the numbers. So I always like to look back at the kind of powerlifting gear eras and look at that distribution of lifts and strength. And that's I think a good starting point and metric for folks. Now, people are going to hear this and say, "Oh, Brett hates geared lifting." Hey, if geared lifting is your thing,
go for it.
I've never had 1,000 pounds on my back. I've never accomplished some of these things that these geared lifters have done. It's amazing to me that somebody can even stand up with 1,200 pounds on their back.
Yes, I see these guys on YouTube and all that. I see Johnny Jackson doing stuff. I'm just like, holy crap.
You unrack 800 pounds and bench it? Nothing but respect. Holy mackerel.
Especially if you do the 2-second pause.
Amazing. Right. And that's not what I do. It's not that, I've been training people for over 25 years. It's not, 0.001% of the population is going to go in that direction and actually succeed at those loads. And it's amazing. Please don't hear what I'm not saying. But for myself and the people that I train, I look at those powerlifting gear numbers and that distribution of strength with deadlift, then squat, then bench. And I think that gives you a much better metric to work off of.
That's awesome. Well, Brett, before we let you go, tell us a little bit more about Strongfist and what you guys do over there.
So Strongfist, the School of Strength, we provide workshops, certifications, and training in kettlebell, barbell, and bodyweight training. We do have very much a strength focus. We do feel that strength is the foundational physical quality and that we can build if we focus on building strength, a lot of other things are going to come along with it. And the skill of strength, how you use your body in a body weight situation and bring that ability to the barbell and bring that ability to the kettlebell. I think the kettlebell is a great starting point, actually. So strength education in kettlebell, barbell, and body weight training, and some of the best programming information available out there.
Well, you guys do a heck of a job, by the way, on your social media. You guys are always pushing stuff out on that, and it's you guys seem to understand social media, and there's a lot of people that they just don't. So
we have some great folks working on that with us, and we're going to be true to our message, and you're going to see us pursue, promote, and practice strength because we believe strength has a greater purpose.
Yes. Well, Brett, it's been an honor and a privilege. I look forward to chatting with you again here in a couple months. Thanks for making some time chatting with us, and have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day. It's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you, sir.
You as well. Thank you, sir. Great to be on the show with you and your audience.
Thank you. Have yourself a pleasant day. Appreciate it. There he goes.
Thank you, sir.
That is Brett Jones from Strongfirst.com, and that was fantastic. He answered a heck of a lot of questions. He got a lot of content in. That was great. And he backed me up on a lot of things that I've suspected, which is always good because I don't like to be wrong. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we have got Roger Homefield coming up. He joins us next on our big broadcast.